quiet stretch of Blue River Valley, where golden wheat fields touch the edge of Montana's rugged mountains, Rachel Armstrong's carefully hidden double life is on the verge of unraveling. To her neighbors, she's just the devoted daughter who came home to help her ailing father run their family farm. But behind the flannel shirts and muddy boots, Rachel is one of America's most elite bounty hunters, with 47 fugitives already behind bars. Now, her secret's at risk. The infamous Dark Angels motorcycle gang has rolled into town, spreading fear and shaking up everything Rachel swore to protect. As she begins digging into their movements, she uncovers something far darker than a local gang. A full-blown criminal empire led by the ruthless Marcus Diablo Cross. Corruption has wormed its way into law enforcement. Friends can no longer be trusted, and with her father's health failing fast, Rachel is forced into the most dangerous hunt of her career, one that could cost her everything. Before we dive deeper, drop a comment letting us know where you're watching from. And if this story grips you like it's gripping us, make sure you're subscribed. Tomorrow's episode might just change the way you see small-town America. Morning dew clings to Rachel's boots as she crosses the dusty farmyard. It's been 6 months since she returned, but her body still moves like a soldier, every step calculated, every glance alert. Beneath her flannel, a concealed Glock 19 presses against her ribs, a reminder that she's still living 2 lives. Her father, Robert, watches the sunrise from the porch, coffee in hand. He's thinner now. The illness is winning, even if he won't admit it. "Storm's coming from the northwest," he calls out, gripping the railing harder than he should. "Might want to get the south field done today." Rachel nods. "Already got the combine warming up. Should be done by sundown." But then they hear it, the low rumble of motorcycles rolling across the valley. Both freeze. The Dark Angels again. Rachel's hand drifts to her weapon before she catches herself. "Third time this week," Robert mutters. "They're not just passing through." "Probably just joyriding," Rachel replies, but her mind's already racing, tracking the patterns, logging the routes. She knows better. At Rose's diner, the usual crowd is quiet. Conversations are hushed. Even cheerful Rose McCall looks shaken. "2 of them showed up at the Miller place yesterday," she tells Rachel in a low voice. Claimed they were offering protection. Poor Tom looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Protection from what?" Rachel asks, her tone calm, her grip tight on her coffee mug. "That's the thing. They didn't say. Just stared too long at his daughter, Jenny." Then the diner goes silent. Sheriff Patterson walks in. As he passes, people avert their eyes. Parents pull their kids closer. "Morning, Rose," he says, sliding onto a stool. Rachel watches him through the diner mirror. Scuff marks on his boots, the same pattern worn by the Dark Angels. She's seen that tread before, on a bounty run. "Heard there was trouble at the Miller farm," she says carefully. "Misunderstanding," Patterson shrugs. "Bikers look rough, but they bring business. Call it tourism." But Rachel isn't buying it. Outside, 3 Dark Angels stride down the main road, led by Marcus Cross himself. Mothers cross the street, clutching their children tighter. "Tourism?" Rose whispers, hands shaking. "That's what we're calling fear now?" Patterson stands, leaves a few bills, and meets Rachel's eyes in the mirror. Change is tough, but fighting it? That's tougher. Rachel waits before exiting, using the diner window to scout the street. The gang's gone, but their presence lingers like smoke after a fire. A buzz on her phone. Agent Blackburn, 2 p.m., same spot, new intel. On the way to her truck, she spots Jenny Miller rushing by, flinching at the sound of distant engines. Back at the farm, Rachel checks the security feeds she secretly installed. Nothing too strange, until she spots a black SUV parked on Ridge Road before sunrise. She zooms in. It's a government-issue vehicle. "You okay?" Her father's voice calls from behind. She quickly switches the screen. What's coming won't just test her aim, it'll test her soul. He stood in the doorway, one hand pressed to his side where the pain was sharpest. "Just checking the weather," he said. Rachel nodded, hating the lie. "Storm's still coming." Her father gave a quiet nod, but something behind his tired eyes said he understood more than he let on. Sometimes storms are necessary, she thought. They clear the air. But this storm, was more than just wind and rain, the kind that rattled windows and passed. This was the kind that left scars. 3 miles into the national forest, where no cell tower reached and no patrols wandered, sat an old hunting cabin, forgotten by most, but not by Rachel. She parked behind it, spotting the unmarked government SUV already waiting. Inside, Agent William Blackburn stood over a table scattered with maps, his blazer tossed on a chair like it didn't belong in the woods. "You're late," he muttered without looking up. "Dirt road traffic," Rachel replied, setting her laptop down. "Had to shake a tail. Patterson's starting to get suspicious." "He's not the only one watching," Blackburn said, tapping a marked point on the map. "DEA intercepted chatter. The Dark Angels aren't just riding through the valley, they're moving cargo. Heavy cargo, using old logging roads and farm trails as their route." Rachel leaned in, studying the familiar terrain. Several of the routes passed within spitting distance of her family's property. They've been riding at dawn to test the trails, and to keep locals too scared to speak. Blackburn slid a set of photos across the table. Surveillance images. Marcus Cross, the gang's leader, was meeting with men in tailored suits behind the Yellowstone bar. "Cross isn't your average biker," Blackburn said. "That's Gregory Walsh. Controls half the freight companies in 3 states. And that," he pointed, "is Senator Morrison's chief of staff." Rachel's jaw tightened. "They're setting up a distribution ring. Clean front, dirty core. And they're buying protection at every level." "We've got one shot at this," Blackburn added. "Once they're fully entrenched, we won't be able to touch them without a war. But we need hard evidence, solid enough to hold up in court." The distant hum of engines rolled through the trees. Rachel moved to the window, watching 4 riders weave down a nearby trail. Even from here, she could spot Victor Wraith Cross among them. "They're getting bold," she said, "expanding their patrols." Back in town, Rachel pulled into Rose's diner just as Detective Laura Hayes stepped out, nearly bumping into her. "You're far from the farm," Hayes noted, eyeing the mud on Rachel's boots and the laptop bag slung over her shoulder. "Parts run," Rachel answered smoothly. "You're far from the county seat." The 2 women shared a quiet moment, each aware the other saw more than they let on. Hayes handed over her card. "If you ever want to talk tractors or anything else, I'm all ears." Inside, Rose handed Rachel a coffee without asking. Her movements were tense. The diner was nearly empty, unusual for this time. "Jenny Miller didn't show up," Rose said under her breath. "Her dad says she's sick." "But I drove by. Stalker's bike was there." Rachel's grip tightened on her mug. "Jake Stalker Harris wasn't just a thug, he was a predator." "How long?" 2 hours. Patterson drove by, didn't even slow down." The bell above the door jingled, and the temperature dropped. Marcus Cross walked in, followed by Steve Razor Butler. The diner fell to a hush. "Afternoon, Miss Armstrong," Cross called, his voice soaked in menace wrapped as charm. "Heard your father's not doing well. Be a shame if he had to worry about farm accidents, too." Rachel met his eyes in the mirror behind the counter, mentally measuring angles, exits, threats. "He's fine, but thanks for your concern." "Good," Cross said, stepping closer. "We like to look out for our neighbors around here." Then his tone shifted. "Speaking of looking out," he tapped the counter. "Rose, about that protection fee, you're behind." Rachel's phone buzzed, a text from her father. "Need help. Hurry." She stood, slow and steady. Cross's tattooed hand was inches from her mug. The snake ink coiled up his wrist, its fangs bared. "Wouldn't want anything to happen to the old man while you're in town," he added, voice low. The threat couldn't be clearer. Rachel dropped money on the counter, feeling his gaze burn into her back as she walked out. In her truck, she checked her weapons and dialed Blackburn. "We need to move, fast. They're applying pressure." "Directly." "Not yet," he warned. "One wrong move and they'll vanish. We need the full web, not just a few threads." She ended the call and sped toward the farm. When she arrived, Robert was on the porch, pale but alive. Relief hit like a wave. until she saw the fresh tire tracks in the mud, motorcycle treads. "They stopped by," Robert said quietly. "Said they were just worried about fire safety, wanted to inspect the barn, told them they'd need a warrant." Rachel helped him inside, noting how much more he leaned on her than yesterday. The storm was here, and Blue River Valley was already starting to drown. Through the kitchen window, Rachel spots subtle movement along Ridge Road. Dark angels on patrol, right where Blackburn warned they'd be. The storm is coming, just like he said. But deep down, Rachel fears it may arrive too late to save what matters most. We poured days into crafting this story, so if you're still with us, consider subscribing. It means the world to us and keeps stories like this coming. Now back to the action. It's midnight. Rachel crouches in the shadows near the Miller farm, binoculars locked on the house. Jake stalker Harris circles the property on his bike like a predator. Tom Miller's truck is gone, called away to a suspicious emergency. Jenny's bedroom light still burns, and a shadow paces behind the curtain. She's not alone. Rachel's phone buzzes. A text from Rose. "3 more bikes coming your way. Sheriff's brother is with them." Moments later, the low growl of engines grows louder. Rachel presses deeper into the shadows beneath an old oak, her hand resting on the weapon at her hip. Alex Ace Patterson rolls in first, the snake tattoo on his arm glinting in the moonlight. The sheriff's brother, once a cop, now just another outlaw in leather. More riders follow. Then, from the darkness, an old pickup truck pulls in silently. Its headlights stay off. Out steps Benjamin Cooper, a retired Marine with a steel gaze and quiet purpose. Rachel's seen him around town, watchful, silent, until now. "Pretty night for a ride," Ace calls out, killing his engine. "Thought we'd check on sweet Jenny. Can't have her feeling lonely while Daddy's working late." Harris laughs, an ugly sound that cuts through the dark. Girl needs protection. Town's getting dangerous. Above them, a window creaks open. Jenny's voice trembles. "Please, leave. I already called the sheriff." Ace smirks. "Yeah, honey, you did. And I'm sure my brother will swing by later, just to make sure you're okay." Rachel's muscles coil. Harris dismounts and moves toward the house, every step a countdown. Then a new voice cuts the tension. "Evening, boys." Ben Cooper steps into the moonlight, casually cradling a shotgun. Little late for social visits, don't you think? Ace's hand inches toward his jacket. "Not your business, old man." "That's where you're wrong," Ben says, chambering around without blinking. "You made it my business the moment you started terrorizing teenage girls." As the gang's attention locks on Ben, Rachel circles behind them in silence. Years of tracking fugitives taught her to move like mist on the wind. Harris starts reaching behind his back, steel glinting in his hand. Rachel reacts instantly. A smooth, practiced throw, a stone sharp and fast, hits his wrist dead on. The blade clatters to the ground. Ben's shotgun rises, steady and sure. Rachel steps from the shadows. 4-on-1 felt a little unfair, she says coldly. Figured I'd even the odds. Recognition flickers in Ace's eyes. "The farmer's daughter," he sneers. "Should have guessed you'd be in the middle of this." Ben doesn't flinch. "Last warning, leave now. Next time the shotgun isn't aimed at the sky." A long silence stretches before Ace signals the retreat. "This isn't over," he growls, mounting his bike. "Valley's changing, change with it or get run over." Engines roar and disappear into the night. Ben turns to Rachel, eyes sharp with history. "Nice throw. Reminds me of someone I used to know in the bureau. Woman could hit a quarter at 20 paces. "Just lucky," Rachel mutters. Ben grins. "Luck's what you make it. Like how I made sure Tom's emergency call was real. He'll be back soon." Inside, Jenny collapses into Rachel's arms, sobbing. "They've been watching, for days. Dad tried to report it, but the sheriff, he just told us there wasn't proof." "Then start writing," Rachel says. "Every word, every time, every name. Detective Hayes might finally have a reason to listen." Later that night, Rachel spots the diner's lights still glowing. She pulls in. Inside, Detective Hayes is hunched over crime scene photos. 3 girls, she says without looking up. All gone, all from nearby counties. All disappeared after the dark angels started showing up. Rose sets down fresh coffee, her hands trembling. Jenny would have been number 4, she whispers. Rachel stares at the photos. It's bigger than drugs now. They're using the trafficking routes for more than narcotics. Proving it is the problem, Hayes says bitterly. Patterson shuts down every warrant. Witnesses vanish. Evidence disappears. Rachel's phone vibrates. A new message. Your father collapsed. Dr. Turner is with him now. She bolts to her truck. The wind howls. Motorcycles echo in the distance. The ridge road looms ahead. And as she races toward the farm, one truth becomes clear. Tonight changed everything. The Dark Angels came for Jenny Miller. They didn't realize they just woke up the wrong woman. Dr. Turner's car sits quietly in the farmyard as Rachel steps inside. In the living room, her father lies pale, his breathing labored, his strength fading. Stress isn't helping, Turner says gently. Whatever's happening in this valley, keep it away from him. But as Rachel watches her father sleep, she knows it's already too late. The cancer is stealing him bit by bit. And the Dark Angels? They're threatening everything the Armstrongs have left. Time is running out, on both fronts. As dawn begins to rise, Rachel checks the security feeds. In the distance, a motorcycle idles, then moves on. A silent warning. A message written in rubber and fear. No one is safe, but what they don't know is this. They've just threatened the wrong family. Rachel Armstrong didn't become one of America's most feared bounty hunters by walking away from danger. And as the sun breaks over Blue River Valley, she begins to plan. If the Dark Angels want war, they're about to learn. Some games have deadlier rules than they ever imagined. In the basement of the county library, Rachel lays out photos across a dusty table. The room smells like old paper and hidden truths. Detective Hayes leans in under the flickering fluorescent lights, examining the images. Dark Angels photographed exchanging packages, trailing families, watching houses. You've been busy, Hayes says, eyeing a photo of Marcus Cross shaking hands with Sheriff Patterson. This isn't casual surveillance. People see what they expect, Rachel answers calmly. Just a farmer's daughter running errands. Hayes pulls another image forward. 3 young women being led into a truck behind the Yellowstone bar. All reported missing. No arrests, no follow-ups. No leads? Hayes scoffs. No leads he's willing to follow, Rachel counters. She flips open her laptop, revealing detailed maps. I've traced their routes, old logging trails, private farm roads. They connect to major highways, and the timing matches missing persons cases from 3 different counties. A soft thump from above makes them both freeze, but it's only the elderly librarian shelving books. Hayes lowers her voice. Patterson's brother's been spotted at truck stops off I-90, the same ones those girls were last seen near. You trying to take down the brother or the sheriff? Both, Rachel says. But I need evidence that won't vanish from the evidence room. She hesitates. Then, I might know someone in the bureau. Upstairs, the library door creaks open. Heavy boots hit the wood floor, multiple sets. Rachel moves fast, sweeping the photos into her bag. Hayes grabs a farming magazine and pretends to read. Through the shelves, they glimpse Steve Razor Butler and Tommy Grim Martinez scanning the aisles. Back door, Hayes whispers. Go. I'll stall them. Rachel slips into the alley, nearly colliding with a familiar figure. Ben Cooper. Careful, girl, he mutters. Town's got eyes everywhere now. They walk calmly down Main Street. Ben's shotgun case slung over his shoulder, casual as a hunting trip. Those pictures in your bag, he says, might interest some people I used to work with. I thought you were a Marine. I was. Then I spent 20 years with the Marshals. Still know people. And that throw you made at the Miller farm reminded me of someone I trained. Bounty hunter. One of the best. Rachel doesn't flinch, but her pulse quickens. Lots of people know how to throw rocks. Sure, Ben says, but not many can hit a knife hand at 30 feet in the dark. He stops by his truck. When you're ready to stop pretending to be someone you're not, come find me. I've got stories worth hearing. Back at Rose's diner, the front door shows fresh damage, splintered wood and crowbar marks. Inside, Rose's hands tremble as she pours coffee. "They came by after closing," she whispers. "Said since I serve cops, my rates just went up. $5,000 by Friday or they'll shut me down." "Did you report it?" "To who, Patterson?" "He said I must have misunderstood their friendly business offer." Across the street, Rachel sees Marcus Cross and his brother exiting the bank, flanked by a pale-faced manager. Another conversation. Another silent threat. Her phone buzzes. Agent Blackburn. "Urgent. Cabin. Now." The old hunting cabin is dark when she arrives, but Blackburn is already waiting, grim-faced and tense. "They're speeding things up," he says. "DEA intercepted chatter. Big shipment coming. Drugs and girls." "And the bank? It's being used to launder the money." "They've got the manager's daughter's college address," Rachel says quietly, the weight of it settling in her chest. "We need the whole network," Blackburn says. "Take down just one chapter and another moves in. We need the connections. Cross, the cops, the politicians." A truck rumbles past. Detective Hayes heading back toward the county seat. Rachel makes a decision. "I'm about to expand your investigation." "Hayes is building a case," she continues. "And I think Ben Cooper, he's not just a Marine. He used to be a marshal." Blackburn looks up, the name triggering a memory. Benjamin Cooper? He's a legend. Helped create the original witness protection program. Rachel nods. "Then it's time to stop playing defense." "Maybe it's time we all stop working alone," Rachel says. Back at Blue River Farm, she finds her father sitting on the porch, looking stronger than yesterday. Whatever Dr. Turner gave him, it's helping. "We had visitors," Robert says, his tone casual. "Sheriff Patterson dropped by. Said he's worried about security. Recommended we hire protection." He pauses. "Specifically the kind that rides motorcycles." Rachel's eyes harden. "What did you say?" "I told him my daughter handles business decisions now." He meets her gaze. "Also told him she's full of surprises." Rachel catches the weight behind his words. Her father knows more than he lets on, just like Ben. That night, storm clouds roll over Blue River Valley as Rachel uploads photo evidence to a secure server. A text from Hayes confirms 3 more businesses visited by the Dark Angels. None of them filed reports. Out on Ridge Road, motorcycles glide through the dark like ghosts, watching, listening, reminding the town who's in charge. But now Rachel's watching back, and she's not alone anymore. Ben's words echo in her mind. "When you're ready to talk about who you really are, maybe it's time." Ben Cooper's cabin sits at the forest's edge, nearly blending into the trees. Rachel parks behind it, noting the birdhouse-mounted cameras and tripwires, subtle, efficient, invisible to most. The door opens before she knocks. Ben stands there with a calm, knowing look. "Took you long enough." Inside, the place is more bunker than cabin. Hidden monitors, encrypted lines, a concealed wall of weapons. 47 fugitives, Ben says, handing her coffee. Mendez brothers in Texas, the Florida bomber. Hell of a record. Rachel accepts it without denial. "How long have you known?" "Suspected at the Miller place. Confirmed after a few calls to the marshals." He studies her closely. "Why someone like you pretending to be a farmer?" Rachel's voice is quieter than usual. "My father's dying. I came home to help him. Then they showed up." A sudden crash breaks through the silence. Shattering glass. Screams. Ben switches feeds. Rose's diner. Motorcycle headlights illuminate chaos as Steve Razor Butler and Tommy Grim Martinez smash windows. Rose stands helpless outside, crying. "Payment was due today," Ben mutters. "Guess she didn't meet their price." Rachel grabs her weapon, but Ben stops her with a final warning. "You go down there as Rachel Armstrong, the bounty hunter. There's no going back." "They threatened my town," she says, checking her sidearm. "Time they found out this town bites back." The diner's front is trashed. A small crowd has gathered. Sheriff Patterson leans lazily on his cruiser while Ace Patterson idles nearby on his motorcycle, watching like a vulture. "Insurance should cover it," Patterson calls. "Accidents happen when you don't pay for protection." Rachel parks dead center, calm, unshaken. She crosses the street to Rose. Martinez raises a chair, then freezes when he sees her. "Well, look who's out late," Butler sneers. "Daddy let you stay up past bedtime?" "Get off her property," Rachel says. No emotion, just command. The crowd stirs. No one's ever heard the farmer's daughter speak like that. Or what? Martinez steps forward, trying to loom over her. "Gonna call the sheriff?" He nods toward Patterson. He's right there. And he doesn't care. Rachel moves. In a blink, she twists his arm, drops him to the ground, and plants a knee in his back. A trained hold, no hesitation. Butler reaches for his waistband and freezes. Ben's voice cuts through the night. "I wouldn't." From the shadows, the old marshal steps into the light, shotgun raised. Then another figure appears. Detective Hayes, her badge on full display. "Evening, Sheriff," she says. "Funny how you're watching this crime happen without stopping it, almost like you're protecting the criminals." Patterson straightens, hand on his holster. "You've got no jurisdiction here, Detective." "Maybe not," Hayes replies. "But I do." Agent Blackburn steps into view, FBI credentials flashing. "And I'd love to know why a county sheriff is letting a criminal network run wild." The crowd shifts. Phones come out, people are recording. Patterson's brother revs his bike, but now he's surrounded by angry neighbors. Rachel presses down as Hayes cuffs Martinez. "You thought this valley was full of easy targets," she says quietly. "You were wrong." Butler tries to slip away, but the townsfolk close in. Ben's shotgun never wavers. "Town's changing," he says, "just not the way your boss hoped." Then the sound of more motorcycles. Marcus Cross arrives. Victor Wraith Cross rides at his side, reinforcements, but they're too late. Rachel releases Martinez and stands, facing the gang leader head-on. "Well now," Marcus says, eyeing the scene. "Didn't know farmers were trained in combat holds." "There's a lot you don't know about this valley," Rachel replies. "Like how many of us are done being afraid." For the first time, Cross doesn't smirk. He studies her like a man realizing the deer in his sights is actually the wolf. "Interesting," he says, voice lowering. "Shame about your father's farm, though." Heard. He doesn't finish. He doesn't have to. Rachel's eyes don't blink. Because if they want to burn it down, she'll be waiting in the ashes, with fire of her own. She was just a farmer's daughter, until they went too far. Cancer treatments are expensive. It'd be a shame if something happened to your insurance claim after a fire. That was the threat Marcus Cross used against Rachel Armstrong's father, and it nearly made her reach for her weapon, but not yet. Not until she had enough to bring them all down. Detective Hayes stepped in. Martinez had just confessed to extortion on dash cam. Enough for a federal warrant. Enough to hit the Dark Angels where it hurt. Sheriff Patterson smirked, convinced no judge would sign it. Then Agent Blackburn dropped the bombshell. The DEA already did. Cross saw the tide turning. He raised a hand. "Clean this up," he ordered. "We're not animals. We're businessmen." But Rachel saw it for what it really was, a retreat. And the crowd saw something else, a quiet shift. Fear was turning to defiance. Hayes swept broken glass inside the diner. "You've been holding out on us," she said. "Want to tell me where a farmer's daughter learned takedown moves like that?" Rachel glanced at Ben. He nodded. It was time. "Let's talk," she said. "Somewhere private. Rose, you too. There's something you both need to know about who I really am." Up on the ridge road, the Dark Angels regrouped. But this time, Rachel wasn't watching alone. The sun was just rising as Rachel returned to Blue River Farm. Her father stood at the gate. "Heard what you did," he said quietly. "Didn't know you picked up those skills while you were gone." Inside, 2 coffee cups waited. So did an envelope. Newspaper clippings, years of bounty hunting cases, Rachel's work, all carefully saved. "I always knew," Robert said. "The way you move, the way you watch, just like your mother." He paused. "She wasn't just a prosecutor, was she?" No, Rachel replied. She was a U.S. Marshal. Undercover. A motorcycle rumbled past, watching, always watching. They've been circling all night, Robert said. Even Patterson came by, twice. Her phone buzzed. Hayes. 3 more girls taken, but 1 left a voice message. A warehouse near the state line. We have 48 hours. Blackburn. DEA raid scheduled, but we need those girls out now. They didn't have time, so Rachel made a call. They wouldn't go in officially. That would tip off Patterson. Instead, they'd use Rose's trucks, Ben's Marines, Blackburn's intel. Rachel would lead, because Blue River Valley wasn't just fighting a gang anymore. They were going to war. Night. The warehouse stood like a monument to cruelty. Inside, 15 terrified girls. Outside, Rachel's team moved into position. Ben's men wore stolen Dark Angels jackets. Distraction. Meanwhile, Hayes covered the perimeter. Rachel and the others slipped in through shadows. They broke locks, freed victims, loaded them into waiting trucks. Then headlights. Patterson, 3 motorcycles. Crosses people. They're early, Hayes warned. Rachel acted fast, ran into the office, grabbed files, knocked over a cabinet. What was that? Came Patterson's voice. A door burst open. Rachel punched Grim Martinez so hard the floor shook. They saw her. The farmer's daughter, someone shouted. Take her alive, Patterson screamed. She ran, drawing them away. Bought time for the trucks to escape. Mission complete. Almost. Her phone buzzed again. Hayes, Marcus Cross just called in a fire at your father's farm. They were retaliating. Rachel ran harder than she ever had. At the farm, Cross had Robert cornered. I know Catherine hid the money here, he sneered. Where is it? You really think I'd betray her now? Robert said. Backup arrived. Rachel stepped into the light, weapon drawn. Time we discussed who's really in charge of Blue River Valley. Cross called for reinforcements. Patterson arrived too, declaring it a police matter. Blackburn raised his badge. Not anymore. Rachel hurled a flash drive to Hayes. Everything's on there. Trafficking, money laundering, bribery. Patterson froze as state police arrived. His brother tried to flee, but Rose's trucks blocked the way. Cross drew a gun. Rachel shot it from his hand. The Dark Angels fell, one by one. But it wasn't just the bikers. It was the network. As federal agents processed arrests, a new truth emerged. The cartel never cared about drugs alone. They were after something more. 12 years ago, Rachel's mother had cost them $100 million. She hid it, and made sure they'd expose themselves trying to find it. Now that trap had been sprung, and the whole country was watching. Whitaker, Atlas Security, Department of Strategic Resources. The names behind the curtain came into focus. Rachel uncovered it all. Her mother hadn't just investigated corruption, she'd built a network to collapse it, and now that blueprint was being used all across the country. By the time federal helicopters landed in Blue River Valley, the world had changed. Not because one woman took down a cartel, but because a community stood up. And Catherine Armstrong's legacy, it didn't end with her death. It began there. Like this story? 2 more are waiting right now on your screen. Click to keep watching. And if this inspired you, don't forget to subscribe. We're just getting started.